Welcome back to the AI-Driven Marketer. I'm Dan Sanchez. My friends call me Danchez. And today I'm making an announcement because a lot of people have asked me over and over again about how I run this show with AI. And I use a lot of AI throughout the process of putting together this podcast or this video show about AI for marketers. And while I've covered it in multiple episodes, it's kind of broken down into a bunch of different pieces in different places. And I've talked about my custom GPTs. I've talked about the platform I've used called Zencastr. But people want the nitty gritty stuff, like all the little tiny, what buttons do I click within Zencastr? How did I set up the custom GPT for the post production and the show notes? And essentially, like they want the step by step guide to the whole process. And people have been asking me that at live events, on LinkedIn. And if you didn't know, before I was the AI driven marketer, I was well known as a marketer in just podcasting, specifically B2B podcasting. I was the lead strategist for a large B2B company or a large B2B podcast agency called Sweetfish. And I became known on LinkedIn as that guy. Even a lot of people thought I owned Sweetfish. I didn't. It was owned by James Carberry, and they're still a fantastic company. If you're a B2B marketer that's on the edge and thinking about starting a podcast, go talk to them. If you're a fairly large company or raised multiple rounds of funds and you want it done to perfection, go contact Sweetfish at sweetfishmedia.com. But a lot of individuals are talking to me. They're small boutique agency owners, solopreneurs, consultants, coaches, to where a podcast makes a lot of sense. Because oftentimes we sell through our expertise. But if we're not getting our expertise out there, does anybody have a reason to come and buy from us? So that's why the podcast is such an attractive option, especially in an AI-driven world, because it's one of the few ways you can actually be authentic and still leverage AI to multiply the content. Because if you ask ChatGPT to come up with the content for you, it's not your thinking, it's ChatGPT's thinking, which often just leads to slop, commodity content at best. But if you start with your own original words in your teaching through a video podcast like this one, not only can you hit the podcast and YouTube, man, you can repurpose that transcript into all kinds of different content down the line, even graphics nowadays. So it's like, it's become the ultimate form of a AI-driven yet human-first content flywheel that I've created with my own system. And a lot of people have asked me about it. So I wanted to do a live, like masterclass, a live training on the whole process from ideation to pre-production to production and post-production and distribution, and how I'm doing it with this show for the AI-driven marketer and what that can mean for solo marketers or maybe just small teams that don't have a lot of time and resources but want to figure out how to build like a whole content marketing system driven by a video podcast. This is especially important if you're selling your expertise. Like your expertise on that topic is the main driver of building demand for you and your company. So I'm doing this live event later this week, and I'd love to have you join me. I'm also kicking off a whole guide because, of course, in an hour-long live training, I can't give you all the nitty-gritty. I want to give you every single step that I take and all the little buttons I push in Zencastr to make this thing hum. So I am actually creating a whole guide called the AI-Driven Podcast. But first, I want to do a live session to teach you everything that I know, get your questions answered live, and then use your questions as a way to fill the gaps of what is missing from this guide. Of course, I'm asking a bunch of friends that I know from LinkedIn and different places that are running podcasts now to give just feedback on the guide. But I'd love to do a live session with all of you, see the overview, ask questions, get them answered live, have a real conversation with Ken and I. If you haven't met Ken yet, he's my business partner over at Solo Scaled, and actually build something that can help you get your expertise out into the market. This is free. The guide I'm going to be giving away is free, and I want to make it as applicable and actionable as possible. So come and join me. It's going to be later this week. You can learn more at drivenpodcast.com. Yeah, I registered a whole domain for this event and the guide that I'm building because I'm planning on improving this and updating this over time because the AI and the tech keeps changing. So the guide I'm going to be giving away is going to be kind of like a mixture of I hate PDFs because once I send them, you can't update them. And courses, nobody ever finishes. So it's kind of like somewhere between a written guide with videos embedded into it. And the Notion doc was the best way I figured out how to do it because I can continue to update it and make it better. So I'm building a masterclass guide on how to build an AI driven podcast. And I plan on just improving this sucker over time, over and over and over again. You'll probably hear it as an ad in the podcast moving forward because I want as many people to start a podcast as possible. This is the best way to use AI to multiply your content and your voice without getting lost in the sea of commodity content, because that's kind of what it's becoming with AI. So again, join me this week for a live class at aidrivenpodcast.com. Look forward to hearing about this guide that's coming up and help me make it better. Show up, ask questions, and let's make something that makes it easy for you to get your expertise out into the market, build your authority, and have a freaking ton of fun doing it at the same time. I'll see you there.